Here's a quick rundown of my 1970 Charger that I've been building up over the past year or so. I bought the car at a local swap meet about a mile down the road from my house, of all places. I had been looking for a second generation Charger for a while, and I wanted something that was a project car because I knew I was going to be putting a different drivetrain in it. Didn't want anything too nice because I knew I wanted to drive it and make it my own. But I also didn't want a complete basket case that I was going to pay, $5,000 for. And luckily this one showed up with no motor, no tranny. It's just in a 318 automatic car, nothing special there. And it was actually originally a California car. It was somebody's project that they had started and never finished. Changed hands a couple of times and it came to me. The body and frame were in really good shape. There were some pieces missing. There's some dents and dings here and there. A little over a year ago, this thing was sitting completely stripped down to the bare chassis on stumps. And within a year, last fall, I got it on the road, got it inspected and running, and still a project, but at least it runs and drives for now. The whole theme of this car has kind of been cheesy 1980s stereotype. A little bit of Mad Max, a little bit of Joe Dirt. Everything I try to do as low buck as possible because I blew most of my budget on buying the car itself. So we had to save money where we could. Like I said, there's some dents and dings, but like those doors are all original sheet metal. They're just in primer, have some dents. But yeah, you can see it was originally gold with a black vinyl top. Swap meet front tires on some steel wheels, unbalanced of course. Mud tires on aluminum slots are a choice combo. I got those Mr. Gasket shackles from my local parts store, and they were actually new from like the late 80s. They've been sitting on a shelf for 25 years, and we had to buy them for this project. Those are the heavy-duty RT/Hemi springs. I got the outer ring at Carlisle last year for $5. The center portion of the grill was missing when I got the car, and if you know anything about trying to find parts for these grills, they're insanely expensive. Couldn't have any of that, so I actually went through the scrap pile over there, and I found a refrigerated shelf that had the perfect spacing. And the center piece is actually part of the handle. So that whole grill is made from old junk refrigerator parts. Interior is a mixture of green, white, black, and gray. It's sparse, but it gets the job done. Seat belts are from a 1985 Toyota pickup truck. I put all new white face gauges into the stock bezel there. You gotta have the Hurst T-handle shifter in a 5-speed car. And of course the footprint gas pedal. Didn't have any of the hood latch components, so we just put hood pins on it. Passenger mirror was a few bucks at the local swap meet. I would have really preferred glass packs, but I got a whole pre-bent system from Summit. They came with these mufflers, so I had to, admit defeat and just put those on for now. You can see the frame rails are still in really nice shape. There's even some original paint left underneath the undercoating. I think the car was originally Z-barred when it was new. New gas tank, new exhaust. And that's not a Dana 60. That's a Ford 8.8 out of an Explorer. And it already came with disc brakes, 373 gears with a limited slip. And all I had to do was weld on some new spring perches and throw it in there. For $200, you can't beat that for a junkyard axle. I used mostly all Ford Explorer brake parts to connect the e-brake and the flexible lines. Front disc brake conversion. although we're still running a manual master cylinder. Now here's the nicest part of the whole car, underneath the hood. That's the only place where there's any shiny parts. I used the 318 out of a 1997 Dodge Ram. I kept all the front end accessories off the newer style engines. I put on an Edelbrock Performer RPM air gap intake to convert it over to a carburetor. I used one of those Pro Comp HEI systems. They were like 60 bucks for the whole thing. We kind of had to clearance the firewall to make it fit though. Also had to clearance the wiper motor housing. Champion all aluminum radiator with an electric fan and the stock overflow tank. I used the transmission out of a 2001 Dodge Dakota 2-wheel drive. It gave me the nice ratio transmission so it doesn't have the really low first gear. That quadrajet is off a 1979 Buick. Power steering pump and bracket off a Dodge van. The valence is kind of rusty, but I picked it up cheap. No Dixie horns yet. Huh. Looks like this car was pretty well optioned after all. I needed that style of intake just so I could clear the hood, because between the RPM intake, the spacer, and the quadrajet, it comes pretty close to hitting the hood. The car didn't come with the blinkers installed in the hood. They just had the delete plates on there. So I drilled out the delete plates and I put a couple of little orange LEDs in there. Every bushing and joint and tie rod end and the suspension has been replaced. We've got hooker headers installed. I wired up the new style alternator to work with the old style voltage regulator. Washer fluid bottle was a generic cheap one off eBay. Redid all the wiring in the entire car. We couldn't spring for the painless, so we had to go with the generic universal kit. The trunk floor was already replaced when I got it, so I just cleaned it up and lined it with Herculiner. That little gas vent tube there was a California only thing, so this car was originally sold in California. Everybody thinks that a 318 in one of these cars is going to be slower than a rotary phone call to Russia.